I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Hugo Chavez-Rey. The Hispanic Patriot Podcast. Billy's out on a much-deserved vacation. Hugo's been sitting in with me today. We're having a great conversation. I want to go back to this because we got into a good discussion on Native Americans, and is anyone really Native American? They all came across the Bering Strait, all that stuff. But I wanted to point this out because what you got from Gary is this kind of notion of like, well, the Indians were just peaceful people living around. They were like hippies growing corn. And then you just came in and stole their land. It was terrible. So I did a deep dive on the Sand Creek Massacre. And by all means, the Sand Creek Massacre was a horrific act by the American military, rightfully prosecuted, or should have been prosecuted more. But what they did was horrific to the Native Americans, not excusing that. But the notion that at that time, it was just a bunch of white people conquering Native Americans. I found this in Wikipedia when I was doing my deep dive. So no progressive, or what's known generally as a progressive site, but this is what they write about it. The beginning of the American Civil War in 1861 led to the organization of military forces in Colorado Territory. However, the attention of the federal government was firmly fixed on defeating the Confederates. As a result, there was no significant military protection of wagon trains, settlers, settlements, communication lines, and supply wagons in the region. By the summer of 1864, nearly every stage was being attacked. Immigrants were being cut off. Settlements were being raided continually. The settlers abandoned their farms and ranches and began seeking refuge in major settlements such as Denver. A coordinated attack was carried out on August 8, 1864, where all the existing stage lines in the region were attacked. Between August 11th and September 7th, Governor Evans sent multiple letters to the Secretary of War, Edward Stanton, in an attempt to furnish military aid, but Stanton was unable to pull the 2nd Colorado Volunteers off the Eastern Civil War front. As a result of repeated calls for aid, authorization was granted to call up 100 days of men to form the 3rd Colorado Volunteers. And then, of course, you had the attack that took place. But this notion that it was just like peaceful people sitting around in corners, in circles, and then just white men came west and took... did you hear that? Every single stage was being attacked at that point.
Yeah. It's the parallel to that is the slavery issue. They claim that white Europeans went to Africa and imprisoned black slaves and brought them over to America. Well, that's a partial truth, shall we say? Because it was blacks who were selling blacks. In fact, the first slave owners, the slave traders, were black, and nobody ever talks about that.
And slavery coming, it was global. I mean, the word slave comes from Slavic. Yeah. That's what was being enslaved. And if you want to look at pure numbers of slaves, look at the Portuguese to Brazil.
Yep.
Number. That dwarfs what happened in the United States. Yeah. So it was happening everywhere. I guess the critique being this revisionism that takes place where, for whatever reason, it's only the white guys that were the problem in the world at the time. Just isn't right. And you see it. Someone texted in. Gary was apparently a disciple of Howard Zinn. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Francis in Golden. Good morning. Merry Christmas to you, Francis.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas, you guys. Hey, listen, I wanted to just kind of correct, I think, a couple of things about the Tina Peters thing, and it gets a little old, and I'm coming from a spot that thinks she got massively over-sentenced. But also from a spot that recognizes that the person who has control over a lot of that is actually the convicted criminal showing some sort of responsibility. But she is a flight risk because she fled the jurisdiction against court order before. That's what makes you a flight risk. She has not applied that I can find for an appeal bond in the state because that's where her case is being appealed in state court. It's state conviction. Instead, she went to federal court where federal court doesn't have anything to do with this at this point, and her appeal bond was rejected. So a lot of this stuff, you have to be honest about it. She's kind of a lot of her situation is of her own making, and a lot of it can be fixed by her too. But there's kind of a martyr complex going on. That's
actually incorrect. She did apply for bond during her appeal in the state. I happen to know one of the attorneys.
I couldn't find that. Did she was denied in state court for an appeal bond?
Yes, correct.
And why was she denied?
I could not find that. One of the reasons is because this judge that basically sentenced her was, in my opinion, a very biased judge. He held out exculpatory evidence and evidence that would have helped her case. The jury never got to hear any of that. And then
that wouldn't have anything to do with her appeal bond.
No, but I'm trying to lay the groundwork for the fact that this judge and the court system in general in Colorado was not going to grant her any type of appeal bond is because they want to make an example out of her. That's basically what this whole thing is about. She's not a danger to anybody, despite what this judge said. He wanted her to, crawl on her hands and knees and apologize for doing or saying what she was doing. And she wasn't.
There's no judge in this state who wouldn't want a criminal convict to take responsibility for what they're doing, and they will jump on you with both feet if you don't. That's exactly what this judge did.
He went beyond that, I believe.
He stayed within sentencing guidelines. She actually could have got double what the judge gave. I still think the judge gave too much under the circumstances, but
did you watch the trial at all?
Sentencing guidelines.
Did you?
No.
Okay, I did, and I heard the speech, if you will, that the judge gave at the time of the sentencing, and it was just full of vitriol and hatred for Tina Peters. And so this guy was not an impartial judge. He had an agenda, and he pushed it to the hilt. And the fact that we have murderers, rapists, child molesters that get less time than what Tina Peters got for what she did is all I need to know about the judicial system in Colorado.
I agree with you that we shouldn't let criminals out, that we're way too soft on criminals, but they also don't have anything to do with Tina Peters' case. They're all different situations and circumstances. And if you've ever listened to a judge sentencing anyone who has taken no responsibility, no, it's not. They're not. It's not a comparison. They're all different facts and circumstances. And any judge who sentences anybody who has taken no responsibility is going to lecture that individual in sentencing. That's what's going to happen. It happens all the time. Until
Kim Kardashian calls. then everyone does what Kim says.
Right, and I agree. And that situation is completely absurd, and I agree with you 110%.
I don't know. Could you say no to Kim Kardashian, Francis? I'm not sure if I blame Jared Poles all that much.
I would struggle with it. But it would. I have to be intellectually honest, No, you guys, and I'm not being too argumentative. I don't believe she's a political prisoner. A lot of it is she's kind of a prisoner of her own making, and I get it that there's political, positions behind what was going on. I get that, but in reality, Tina had no defense to present. It was almost self-proving case.
So using your logic, should Jenna Griswold be in prison for what she did?
Boy, that's close. I think she could be. I think she could be charged. I don't know if she would ever
One of the charges against Tina was that she exposed passwords to the systems of Mesa County. Jenna Griswold
did the same thing.
Exposed the passwords of all 64 counties. So
yep, I agree. I agree.
Shouldn't she be in jail 64 times 9?
Well, here's the problem. I think, and don't hold me to this, but I think that there were some changes legislatively between what Tina did and what Jenna did. But I don't know that for sure. It's just what I understand. I think Jenna Griswold should be tried criminally for stupidity if he had such a charge.
Instead, the voters of Colorado are going to go, let's make her the top attorney general. Yeah. Francis, I appreciate the call. We got the news coming up. Hey, have a very Merry Christmas, my friend. Now is time for the news.
Unseasonably warm, dry conditions on this Christmas Eve and a Christmas Day. Now, the weekend coming up, especially by Sunday, we are going to be quite a bit colder and see some changing weather. In the meantime, though, unseasonably warm, dry weather continues with 60s and low 70s today and tomorrow, 30s and low 40s tonight and tomorrow night. Slightly cooler, low to mid 60s for Friday. Temperatures trending down for the weekend as the remains of a large California storm will move across Colorado. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
That person laughing is Hugo Chavez-Rey of the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, live in studio with me. We had to separate him and Bill. Bill is out on a much-deserved vacation. But that is the Jeff and Bill show. It is Denver's top talk radio show because this is where the debate happens. It's not a monologue. You get to call in. You get to be a part of it. If you want to call in and tell me I'm an idiot, you're more than welcome to do so. It could be the gift to the entire city of Denver. Call in and tell everybody how much of an idiot you think I am. It is unique. Here's the phone number, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115.
You want to be careful, though, because you might land on Santa's naughty list.
Yeah. People are like, Jeff, how do you deal with it? How do you just... And did you ever watch the movie of Alex Honnold? He climbs Yosemite. He climbs without ropes in Yosemite, and they actually scan his brain, and he's missing part of that brain that gives him fear of heights. It just doesn't exist, so he just climbs without ropes. And I think it's part of my brain that's missing, where I don't get offended if people call me names. It just doesn't. I'm like, oh, okay.
I wear it as a badge of honor.
I do too, especially in this state that doesn't know what it's doing. If the people that voted Jared Polis think I'm an idiot, Tells me all I need to know about you. All right, let's go to Alan in Lakewood. Good morning, Alan. You're on with Jeff and Hugo.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest a book series that's done by Kathleen and Michael Brewer. They are archaeologists that write fictional stories based on an archaeological dig all over the United States. And it's an interesting way of learning about culture of India.
Yeah, what does the book tell us?
Well, they start off with people of the wolf, and they tell about tribes that came over from Asia to Alaska. Then they tell about tribes that are going down through Canada and spreading out into the United States. And it's people of the wind, people of the fire, people of the east, people of the swamp, and they cover the whole United States that way.
Yeah,
they tell about their culture, their foods, their, what you'd find out from an archaeological standpoint.
What I've seen in history analysis is that the reason why the tribes didn't unite to confront the white man was because, in many ways, they just saw them as another group of people that were coming through. Yeah, we're going to have to battle them. We battle them. We battle this tribe. We battle that tribe. We have a fight, and everybody's fighting everybody. And so they didn't see it as this big existential threat until later when they started to kind of unite to try to confront them.
Yeah.
But
well, just like any other group.
And by then we had the cavalry, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Civil War was over.
Well, I think just like any other group, you had your people who wanted to live peacefully, and you had your rebels who wanted to fight everybody that they saw as a threat. So, but the thing that people overlook on this topic is the fact that the natives, so to speak, the Indians, were fighting amongst themselves between tribes, and
well,
some
these
of
were based. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was
These
just
were
saying,
based on. They'd find something at an archaeological dig, and they would research the people that lived in that area, and it would, I got to learn about their clothing, their food, their, way of life, even though they were all fictional stories.
That's good insight. Really and remind me the author again, Alan, real quick.
It's Michael and Kathleen Greer.
Michael and Kathleen Greer. All right, I appreciate it, Alan. Thanks for the call. Alan's
is the first book.
Wonderful. Have a Merry Christmas, Alan.
Merry
Alan's
Christmas.
line will be open 303-696-1971. Joe texting in asking if we could get that Santa song queued up again, and then she'd like to go get her husband. So go ahead, get it queued. I'm going to talk about Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law, and then Joe will play it right after I do my read for Dan Caplis Law. So go get your husband. He'll be ready. Okay, here we go. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. In fact, why don't you just put it in your phone right now? So if you get hurt, you get in an accident, you can call Dan right away. Here it is again, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. All right, Joe, just for you. Hopefully you got your hubby. Here is Mark Crowley's Santa is Coming to Town.
He's flying in loud, wrapped in red, white, and blue, making promises bigger than the North Pole view. He's got a list, it's tremendous, they say. Best list ever made, believe me, okay. He says prices are dropping, jobs everywhere, factories humming, flags in the air. coming to town. He says the shelves are full, the border's tight, everything's perfect, just ask him tonight. Stockings are stuffed with paychecks and pride, American made, no sleigh left behind. He says the pump's red under two, and everyone's saying, yeah, that's true. Santa Trump is coming to town, gas under two, economy sound, factories back, flags unbound. Santa Trump is coming to town. 1776 for the troops. Best military, no excuses, no loops. Strong like steel, sharp like a crown. Great, it's Christmas, this country's found. Santa Trump is coming to town. Lots of jobs, no messing around. Prices down, America proud. Santa Trump is coming to town. That's what he says. And he says it loud.
Santa Trump coming to town. I'll link to that if you want to download it so you can put it into your playlist. Great work, Mark Crowley. Wonderful. Santa Trump coming to town. All right, when we come back, Supreme Court rules on legality of Trump National Guard deployment to Illinois. Why are libs fighting this so much? Is it because they're really concerned about a police state? I mean, they did want to force the jab on everybody. No, they're just going to put criminals first once again. We'll continue. Joe, happy to deliver for you. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, Denver's news talk leader, 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy out on vacation this week. I'm going to be out next week as well. Peter Boyles will be subbing in starting Friday, and then all of next week. And then Billy and I will be back fighting the good fight again on January 5th. In the meantime, Hugo Chavez-Rey, the Hispanic Patriot podcaster, live in studio. You guys got a great event coming up, a casino night, right?
Right, my old organization, the Colorado Hispanic Republicans, is going to have this casino night on January the 23rd from 7 to 10 p.m. It's going to be at the Independence Institute, downtown Denver. Sponsorships are available, and if you want to get more information, go to the Colorado Hispanic Republican website and or Facebook page, and you'll be able to see the promo on that. Should be a fun night, and going to raise funds for a good cause. I was chairman of that organization for 10 years, and now headed up by Mr. Raymond Garcia, good friend of mine. So if you're interested in a fun night and you like some casino stuff, there will be prizes and other activities there. So go ahead, and there will be food. There's always food at a CHR event.
Good Hispanic food. All right, Hugo, that's a lot of fun. January 23rd, 7 to 10 p.m., Colorado Hispanic Republicans. Great organization. Go support them. Let's go to the phone lines. Ryan in Evergreen. Good morning, Ryan. You're on with Jeff and Hugo.
Good morning.
Do we have you, Ryan?
Going
Ryan may need to call back. All right, try calling back, Ryan. We'll get you back in. Phone line, by the way, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Supreme Court rules on legality of Trump National Guard deployment to Illinois. Fox News reporting the Supreme Court rejected the Trump administration's request to allow the president to proceed with immediately deploying National Guard troops to Chicago, delivering a blow, if temporary, to President Donald Trump as he seeks to expand his federalization push across the U.S. The justices declined the Trump administration's emergency request to overturn a ruling by U.S. District Judge April Perry that had blocked the deployment of troops. An appeals court also refused to step in. The Supreme Court took more than 2 months to act. At this preliminary stage, the government has failed to identify a source of authority that would allow the military to execute the laws in Illinois, the High Court wrote in its majority opinion. 3 Justices Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch publicly dissented. The outcome is a rare Supreme Court setback for Trump, Fox News writes, who had won repeated victories in emergency appeals since he took office again in January. The White House told Fox News that the Trump administration plans to keep working day in and day out to safeguard the American public. The president promised the American people he would work tirelessly to enforce our immigration laws and protect federal personnel from violent rioters. He activated the National Guard to protect federal law enforcement officers and to ensure rioters did not destroy federal buildings and property. Nothing in today's ruling detracts from that core agenda. Bottom line, the Supreme Court wants local cops to protect ICE. This is weird to me.
What I'm puzzled by is how does this differ from when they challenged the troops going into L.A. And the Trump administration won a positive ruling on that. So why is it different for Illinois? Yeah. That's the part that I don't get. And you know, I'm even more puzzled by those that voted with the liberals on the court. Who was it? Kavanaugh and Barrett.
Correct.
And one more, but we had the dissenting justices Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch favored broader presidential authority, and the majority declined to intervene at this stage. Now, I don't know what that means, but this is an emergency order application rather than a full merits opinion.
Correct.
So it applies at this stage of litigation but it signals judicial skepticism about the administration's authority here.
Well, here are the issues they're trying to work out, right? So on one hand, yes, you don't want the Army to be acting as a police force, right? Because armies, as Adam brought up in the 6 o'clock hour, they're trained killers from top to bottom. Even the guys that clean the toilets, trained killers. That's their job out there. But what we've seen is that in these efforts to implement immigration laws and arrest people that shouldn't be here, that protesters get in the way. You're seeing the videos come from Chicago. They're throwing rocks. You saw it from L.A.
And
they're lighting cop cars on fire.
Yeah, and then local municipalities prevent the police from those local entities to intervene to help the federal authorities. So if the local authorities aren't going to step in to enforce the law and back up the federal authorities who have full authority to go in and implement those laws, then what's left? That's what the president is saying is, look, if you don't want federal troops in there, then have your local police support the federal authorities who are trying to enforce the law. You can't have it both ways. But they obviously do. And this Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson from, they are commies to the core. And Pritzker is a trust fund baby who never made $1 himself for anything, but he's a billionaire. And
what's wild to me is that what ICE is doing is legal. It is granted to them the power. 100%. They're actually enforcing our laws to go, if you're in this country illegally, we're going to go get you. Okay?
Yep.
So they try to go get them. Now, these leftist progressives and activists and agitators, like they all did with BLM, show up to disrupt. It's the police that are the problem. It's the immigration that's the problem. Yep. And you even get this line, I found this fascinating, from the court itself, or from the Democrats themselves, that said that the streets are safer without immigration enforcers. The streets are safer without ICE.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not the streets are safer because the illegals that already broke a law have demonstrated to the communities they're willing to break laws in order to live their lives. They don't care. They're going to break laws. They've already sent that message. Not that they're off the street, but that ICE is off the streets.
Right. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. To promote this type of mentality, and which, by the way, is not even backed by the people themselves. These are just hierarchy people like the governor and the mayor of Chicago who are taking these arbitrary positions without really the support of the people. Because I've seen interviews of the people in the streets saying, do you want ICE enforcing immigration laws? And most of them say absolutely enforce it, because they're taking our resources, they're creating crime in the streets, they're not productive citizens, if you will, and yet these people think that they have higher authority than the federal authorities do in enforcing federal law. They need to go back and read their supremacy clause and understand what federal over local means and what type of enforcement is enforceable by the federal government when it comes to immigration. When it comes to immigration, local law enforcement has zero power. The federal government has all the power there. And
right.
So when the president sends in federal law enforcement to enforce immigration laws, and you have, like you said, these rabble-rousers that are paid, by some of these NGOs and all these other anti-American groups to oppose them, and they get violent. They're not just peacefully protesting; they're violent.
Yeah.
They're out to kill. They've stated that they want to kill, and so and then idiots like this governor and mayor in Illinois who say, "Well, we're not going to support you." Then what you're saying is you're not going to support your own citizens that elected you to enforce the law and protect them.
Yeah.
Because that's your job as an elected official.
Criminals first. Listen to this. This is the Attorney General of Illinois. I am pleased that the streets of Illinois will remain free of armed National Guard members.
Yeah.
That's what he's pleased about. Like, you have a choice. It's either illegal immigrants or armed National Guard members, right? Because what has been proven is that you're not going to take care of them yourselves. Illinois is not going to take care of illegal immigrants. So, and you're interfering with ICE, and you're fighting ICE, and you're suing ICE, and every possible way you're trying to stop ICE. So there is a choice. You're either going to have National Guard and ICE operations in your community, or you're going to have illegal immigrants. And what pleases the Attorney General, the top lawyer in Illinois, the lawyer who should be following the law, what pleases him is that his streets are free of National Guard.
Yep, even as the blood runs cold in the streets of Chicago every weekend. Every weekend there are dozens of people killed on the streets, but they're not concerned about that. They're concerned about law enforcement coming in to enforce federal law and then telling their police that you can't support these law enforcement officers from the federal level, and the president wants to send in troops to protect them, and they fight in court and win this type of a decision. I don't understand the Supreme Court at times. This one really boggles my mind. They totally contradicted themselves because they didn't prevent the troops from going into L.A. They didn't prevent them from going into D.C., so why Chicago?
Those are being litigated right now, going up. It is fascinating to me the amount of energy and effort that the left puts into these lawsuits. I mean, you have crime, you have problems in your communities, yet it's Trump. You see it with Phil Weiser, right? He wants to be the next governor of Colorado. The only thing he's delivered are lawsuits against Trump.
Yep.
That's it. That's the direction Colorado's going, but that's what voters are going to reward. Help me understand what you think. You led the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. You've been a part of the state conservative modus operandi for years now. What do you want to see Republicans do to win this state that's getting bluer and bluer and bluer?
Well, I've been saying it forever. I think that the Republican Party in Colorado continues to ignore the big elephant in the room, which I call the Hispanic voter base. Hispanics are conservative by nature. In Colorado, we have 1.2 million Hispanics in the state. About half of them are citizens, and about half of those vote, which leaves around 300,000 voters of Hispanic descent that are eligible to vote but are not participating. And the Republican Party has done zero to try to attract those voters. You just do the math, okay? How many elections in Colorado have been won by more than 100,000 votes or more? And you'll find very few. And what that means is if the Republican Party was successful in attracting 1/3 of that block that's out there that's not voting or participating, that means the Republicans would have another 100,000 votes in their coffers for all these statewide races.
But where does that breakdown exist? You're talking about 1.2 million Hispanics. If we just had 1/3 of them, they would support Republicans. Why don't they? What is getting in the way?
Well, the biggest comeback from the people that I talked to over the years has been that they don't feel welcome in the Republican Party, okay? And that, to me, falls on the Republican Party. We've been bad at messaging. I say we, but I'm talking about the Republican apparatus, and not just Colorado, but nationally. We've been bad at messaging. And what Trump proved is that if you message the Hispanic community properly, you will attract a certain...
What is that? What does it mean to message them? Because you've been tough. You've been an immigration hawk. Get them all out. So you're not weak on immigration.
No, it's not about that. Look, the dirty little secret is that over 80% of the Hispanic immigrants in this country who are citizens oppose illegal immigration. Have you ever heard that on the news? No, you won't. And the Republican Party keeps talking about unaffiliateds. Okay, fine. We need some unaffiliateds to vote with us. We need some conservative Democrats to vote with us. But nobody ever talks about that Hispanic bloc that's out there who live conservative lives, who own businesses, who have children in schools, and who oppose all of this leftist nonsense, but they're not being attracted by the Republican Party with their messaging.
What message connects?
The message that connects is, we want you, we invite you, and we want you to be a part of this apparatus. You know, have a voice at the table, a seat at the table. That's what you hear from a lot of Hispanic voters out there who basically look at the Republican Party and rightfully they say, you know, it doesn't look like our community. And so you have to have that conversation first. You have to have that extension of the hand and say, come, we want you to come and be a part of this, and give them a seat at the table. What does that look like? It looks like different things to different people. You know, you can say, well, you know, you should run for some offices that are out there. We want you to be a part of the Republican message, the conservative message, which they are already living. And so if we don't do that, if we don't make that effort, they're not just going to magically come over. It's like human nature, right?
Well, it's like dating.
Well,
the girls don't just magically walk over, guys.
Exactly. I wouldn't, you know, if you and I were friends, let's say, and I never invited you over to my house for a barbecue or whatever, would you still consider me a friend? No, because you're ignoring each other.
So, are you endorsing in the gubernatorial race for Republicans? Are you behind any candidate?
As of right now, because of my position in the state party, I am a party official because I'm the vice chair of the Denver County, so I cannot take a position.
Public?
Yeah, I don't do endorsements and I don't take positions. I have looked at all the candidates. I have my preferences, but I can't state them publicly. I have spoken to some of the individuals privately, and I hope that we can get a good candidate out of this primary for governor, for attorney general. I think we've got a good one for treasurer, and and secretary.
That's Grantham, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And secretary of state. You know, so we've got to be able to put up good candidates that the voters can address.
Why do you think there's 20 plus candidates for governor and like one for this?
That is the proverbial question, isn't it? And the bottom line is that out of that group of 20, there are actually some individuals who would be good at some of the other offices.
I agree.
That we need candidates for, but everybody wants to go for the Big Apple instead of uniting
or
as a
challenge
team.
Hickenlooper, the rest of them.
Imagine a football team and everybody wants to be the quarterback.
Great question. All right. Joining us live, Hugo, Chavez-Rey. We're going to continue and wrap up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, Denver's News Talk Leader, 710 KNUS. Santa Claus coming tonight. So you kids out there, have a wonderful Merry Christmas. Thank you to everybody that tuned in this week. To my co-host, Hugo Chavez-Rey, Hispanic Patriot Podcast. By the way, how do they listen to your podcast, Hugo?
Well, we are on Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. We are on YouTube, X, Rumble, and Facebook. And if you don't catch the show live, you can always catch the episodes on any one of those platforms.
Yep.
We talk about a variety of topics, and we're growing. We need the audience, and we need help.
Yeah.
For those that are interested in what we're talking
And
about.
who's your co-host?
Oh, yes. Definitely want to give a shout out to my young co-host, Mr. Nicholas Razzo, who is the millennial in this duo. I am the boomer and he's the millennial. So we have a good exchange. We have a good perspective from both sides of that demographic.
He's not just Hispanic. Did you say he's Indian as well? I thought you said that.
I
Did
think
get that
no.
wrong?
He has a Polish background as well.
Oh, is he?
Yes, actually.
Well, there you go.
is.
Welcome to America.
Yep. So
Native American, Hispanic, Polish, who knows? It's all mixed together. Thank you very much, Hugo Chavez-Rey. It was a ton of fun to be able to co-host with you today, talk all these different issues. We had Adam Dorito, candidate challenging Gabe Evans during the 6 o'clock hour. If you missed any of that, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. We talked Colorado CDL issues. We talked Jeanette Vizguera. We talked National Guard. It's been an absolutely jam-packed show today. Again, 710knus.com to download the podcast. Peter Boyles will be in Friday. And then all of next week, as Billy and I are taking some vacation, which would be great. And then, Adam, there's a Christmas thing starting tonight, right? 5 p.m.?
Christmas across the land, starting 5 p.m. tonight. Christmas music. Tune in.
It'll be great.
love it.
So, amazing. I want to wish everyone a very happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll be back with Billy January 5th. Until then, God bless you all.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
You've been listening to Jeff and Bill, 710 KNUS.